This is Topical Issues, and today's topic is a talk within a talk. Talk within a talk is a discussion by me to me about us. Just like it was in the Greeks forum, they would get to the forum and they will share issues, public issues, political issues, general issues, and there are times when they had debates. And they would debate about anything. Sometimes it was a competition of competence, in that you are given something and then you discuss until one reaches a conclusion of something that would not have been concluded under normal circumstances. For instance, somebody asking you to explain how a stone can be a table, and then you have two sides. One is saying it cannot be, and you're able to argue. And if the one who is arguing convinces you that a stone is a table, then he wins the day. If he cannot be able, then he wins the day. That is part of the debating we have, and even the casing in courts that we have. Let's discuss about sociology. This is our day-to-day interaction in society. There are people who behave like those people in the forum. They are everything else but not themselves. Great pretenders, false personality. Even when they are angry, they pretend they are laughing. When you've gone, they're talking ill about you, but when you come around the corner, they're talking of what a wonderful person you are. Those are some of the people in the society. There are some who are very serious. Everything is like business. They don't like nitty-gritty talks. No. Go to the point, finish what you are saying, and that is over. In our African society, we are able to interact, we share. But there are some people who don't like interacting. Especially those that I talked about, those who isolate themselves and are business-like. We need social interaction with one another. If it's Kenya African style, citizen to citizen, be able to interact with people from different ethnic groups and appreciate them the way they are, just the way they are. A person with his personality. It's good that we try to keep within our personality so that people don't really know how to identify us. Because there are some people, you give them this identity, and when they go to another place, they have a different identity, they have a different personality, different approach to issues. And when you're talking of this society interaction, there are some people who have a philosophical problem cut out. Mostly what happens is, when you are arguing, there are some people who can never argue without delinking the argument from the person. So it can be a general talk, general argument, but they will personalize it. Be it just an engagement in personal discussion, a quarrel on the political line, they get rowdy and sometimes want to get violent. I remember when we went to secondary school, there was a time I met somebody, and it was in a boarding school. And after you argue a bit with him, then he tells you, now, it looks like this argument is not reaching an end. Let's get out there and fight. And he's really serious. He wants to fight. He does not want to win in the argument. So in the world, there are some people who are of that character, but that one is a very bad character when it comes to arguing with fellow friends over issues or politics. When you're talking about politics, somebody cannot delink politics from a personality. You talk against his candidate, he sees how you can fight. That is always the thing. If you don't like my candidate, then I don't like you and I want to get physical with you. It is something that we have to adjust. And also, as we talk of those things, we have to look at philosophies. The things that human beings have put down to help them, assist them, discuss things about existence, how to handle public issues, how to have public values. The philosophies within our society. Because sometimes you'll find people in the society that when they get their living, their argument, their reasoning, the philosophical aspect is partially missing. We come to this issue of discussing law and order. There are people who feel physical might is might. There's no law for them. So tell them, you can fly up. They tell you, yeah, the law that governs that cannot hold me. And mostly what happens also, it comes when they get to the physical argument in the existential terms. They would want to bring conflict, violence within the things that deal with law and order. If he wants his way, even if the law says it's not so, he'll try to have his way illegally. And that has led to legal problems, lack of identification, recognition, and respect to legal structures in solving legal problems. It affects us up to our families, because we will find some people who, instead of handling something within their homestead, they take it to the court and then again realize it's supposed to be a domestic problem, so again they have to go through the process of trying to withdraw what they took there in anger. There are people who, when they hold a certain office or certain offices, they believe now no law can be able to hold them. So these are the things that we have to adjust to. Every society has got laws, and we have to learn the confinements of our laws, because many of us do not even realize they are breaking laws when they are breaking laws. So we have to have some little knowledge, ignorantly like me, about some few laws here and there. It helps in the interaction with the legal system. We come to discussing respect issues within the families. Respect is winning. It's not like winning, not of going up, winning of W-E-A-N-I-N-G, becoming law, than when we were still young. That aspect, the African aspect of respecting the elder person or a person higher in hierarchy than you. There are others who feel that all social structures, all official structures do not mean anything until when they get into problems. You realize you are a subordinate person and you pick an argument with the director of the company, disregarding the protocol and the principle. The next thing you are told you are interdicted, that's when you start realizing, but what have I done wrong? That's when you realize you did not follow the laid down procedure. This is something that gets most of us, political class, officers, and the common people. We have that problem. Legal problem, respect problem. Discussing sabotage and infringement of law. And this is when we try using law to favor us. Trying to buy into the criminal system, the legal system. Instead of following what is right, we try to go over, try to twist, bend over bribery, people in powerful positions, to suppress others, or to make us have our way. We get away from legality. We sabotage the very legal system with powerful people in that position, with the money we have, with the other connections we have, with our job positions. Something that we have to check in society. See how we can make adjustment to it, because it becomes a problem to those who don't have those abilities, those capabilities, and the rights are being infringed. Standings and criminality. Why did I talk about this? The way we do things. There are times when cartels can be operating within your system, but you can never raise your voice. You can never say something is happening here. Criminal activities going on within your system, be it the place you live, be it the place you work, the place you relax, and you find it mostly eats into society. You end up having a totally corrupt society because there's nobody to raise his voice. Total breakage of the law, and nobody can raise the voice. So now, law becomes innocence, and innocence becomes law, because crime. Because now, if you don't act as per the criminal aspects of that place, you are considered an outlaw. You have to be a criminal to conform. Break all the rules to conform. Until now you are formatted along that line. It happens. We see everything happening around and blame criminality while we condone it to happen within our midst. There is good citizenship and personal responsibility. This is where most of us fail or fear. We will find within the system, be it government, be it social, all those things. Things are going awry, but you are afraid to raise your voice because of the consequences. And it's only when those things get to you that you realize, if you had shouted or somebody else had shouted, then the situation would not have continued. That's why the Quran says, if you see something wrong happening, try to stop it. But if you can't stop it, talk against it. Talk at least, talk. What is happening is bad. You're not in a position that can be able to stop that. But voice your feelings, voice the truth. It may help curtail something somewhere. Because many people realize that they get into problem, extortion, abduction, being kept under control of gangs, having things stolen, having insecurity within the environment, because they cannot be able to voice this and this is happening, those and those groups appear to be operating within our zone. It may be in government zones. Sometimes an evil is being planned and you are quiet about it, not knowing that that evil, sometimes when committed, will actually infringe on your very own freedom. There are those who have had people planning of how they'll make a breakage in the house, and some houses there, and they can't talk, they can't reveal anything. Suddenly, when the whole place is broken into, theirs is also gotten in the process. Now they can't come out to say, because people will ask, why did you warn us? They realize if they had done something prior to that, then it will have preempted the situation. So be it in our societies, be it anywhere. Let's have the courage. Sometimes we fear the consequences. But let's have the courage to talk. To talk. There are some things that people never talk about. Sabotaging of public facilities, railway line. There are times when riots come and people pull railway lines, roads, electricity, water, sometimes even, what can we say? Pipelines. There are people who have done that. When we used to have telephone wires, there are people who would sometimes steal telephone wires. There are others who have been stealing oil from transformers in other places. Others have even been electrocuted, stealing oil from transformers or sabotaging electric power transformers. This is tantamount to destroying public installation, which many of us do not know carries a very serious charge. It is treason. It is treasonable to sabotage public infrastructures, public installations. But many of us take it lightly because we never realize that is the aspect it can get before when it gets into the legal system. So it's something we should warn one another. Let one another know that if you are destroying an electric power transformer, if you are sabotaging a pipeline, if you are sabotaging a railway line, in case you are arrested, here we always say court, in case you are caught or arrested, it can have such a severe consequences. Treason. A charge that when many are told, first they will think that somebody is against them, but that is what it carries. There are other things that people have never known. There are things I've heard people arguing. What would happen if a government got diamonds under your land? What would happen if the government suddenly decided that a railway line is going to take the route through your land? Or a certain important installation has to be put in your land? What we've never known is that the land that we are on is leased by the government. And if necessary, the government itself can be able to recall the land and give you compensation. Because all government in Kenya and in most countries of the world belong to the government. When you say I'm buying land, you're only being given a lease. But in case diamonds are found there, oil is found there, those are national properties. The government will give you money to get out of that land if they want to put up a mine, maybe for gold. Or they can be able to get that and lease you that very place for you to mine. So I had this when I was a time when there was an argument between, it was Nairobi State House girls at some place. By then, the president who was there was Daniel Arap Moi, and he was very categorical. This is a public institution. An individual cannot infringe on the expansion of a school because the government owns land. That's when I got to realize, and later when I checked, I realized that's the truth. When a government wants to put up infrastructure, it can be able to suspend your lease. If minerals that will affect the economy or the well-being of the country are there, then it can give you a compensation for that piece of land. The minerals belong to the state. There is also this thing of property and unclaimed assets. When assets are not claimed and the owners are not known, or the money is put in the bank and the owners cannot be found, then the government has a right to claim that money on behalf of the known people or the property to be converted into government use. They become government assets. So mostly when we carry out our day-to-day living, we interact with one another. We should not lose perspective of these important things. And that's why they always say, like when you are buying land, know that you are not buying in a place marked for public infrastructure. There are people who get land through their clever ways, and you are sold a piece of land, you got a title deed, you've built, only to be reminded that this was a reserve for the road extension. No matter how much you have spent in upgrading that place, even if you have spent millions, the whole structure will be pulled down. So these are things that we should keep reminding ourselves. What we do in society, what we do on land, how we interact with one another, how we view the law, how we respect one another, how we socialize, how we philosophize, and how we take law and order into consideration. This can help us have a balanced life, settled understanding of the things around us, and reduce many problems in our lives, our understanding, and sometimes when it's political or something going around the ethnicity lines, it can be a game changer, a savior to violence. That's why I said we have a talk within a talk. I think you may have benefited a bit from that. I've also benefited a bit from learning these things and being able to talk within this talk to share with you. I know you will also have your talk within you, talking to you, continuing on this talk within a talk. That's my take for now.